going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to be breaking down CBS's weekly mock draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Below my face is my board. I have some new guys that I've updated that I have yet to shift, but actually we got a lot of stuff going on. This is based off of my all-22 grades, which, yes, it's going to be super duper unique, but if you guys want to have a little bit of a glimpse at what my exact opinions are, they are backed up by all 22, every single one of these players, and I post a lot of those clips over on my X. The way you can get there is easy. Just go through that link tree. You're 2 clicks away from getting there, as well as our sponsor of the show, UnderDog Fantasy, where if you do sign up using that little link or the code HAILMARY, you get up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you sign up. So feel free to do it. Great platform. I love the guys. They love me. It's honestly a great partnership. And, you know, we're going to be going into year 3, fingers crossed, as of next year with the program. But let's get in with it. Let's have a great time. And Josh Edwards, I pretty much look at this every single week. You guys like when I end up looking at this. So, you know, it is what it is. I like to be able to give you guys the type of content that you guys are looking for. CBS mock drafts are pretty much what people like to look at. And, you know, at least this guy, Josh Edwards, does it every week. So let's at least give him some credit. The dude has some consistency. But round 1, we got pick number 1, Raiders going Cam Ward. If you have an issue with the draft order, this is not my mock draft, so get mad at them. But, you know, there are games that are continually shifting, because it's just like a really weird week where there's going to be games on Christmas, Wednesday, and all this stuff. So it's going to be certainly an interesting juggle of the balls, so to speak. But your Cam Ward goes at number 1 overall. Probably the most talented quarterback in the class. I mean, we have the quarterbacks who are 1 and 2. At this point, it feels like a guarantee. I don't have either of them in my top 32, but that's not saying that they're absolute cheeks. I just have my relative concerns, and that is adjusted for positional value. I just think there are other more surefire prospects. It's very difficult for me to believe that, you know, quarterbacks that a lot of people would have ranked as like QB7, QB8, QB9 in last year's class, maybe as high as QB5, that they would be going 1 and 2. But, you know, we are also in a very trend-heavy league, and the majority of the first-round quarterbacks last year have panned out. So I guess it could be possible for these teams to say, hey, we want a little bit of piece of that. But quarterbacks going 1 and 2, we all kind of talked about that. Travis Hunter going at 3, kind of just like the boilerplate beginning of a mock draft. Travis Hunter, I do think he could end up transitioning to free safety and end up being one of the most crazy free safeties of all time. That's the beautiful thing. If he fails at corner, if he fails at receiver, you actually have yourself the possibility of getting the best defensive back in the whole entire league with Travis Hunter. And I'm not the biggest Travis Hunter guy on planet Earth. I know he has some relative limitations, and, you know, he's just someone who I love his IQ. I love his zone instincts. I love his ball skills. To me, all 3 of those, including his relative range ability, make him an elite free safety guy, but I know that corner as well as wide receiver pay a lot more than those, so I'm not going to blame him for not wanting to go to that position, but I'm just saying, you pretty much have yourself a guaranteed win. Will Johnson goes at pick 4 to the Jaguars. Amazing pick. It's the dream pick for him. He's the best player in the class. And number 5, we have T-Mac going to the Panthers. I regraded T-Mac. I don't think he won't be on this screen, but he moved up noticeably even as the particular receiver that I do think he is, which is a relatively limited. He's not as like dynamic as what people like to say, but he's very, very improved this year as an NFL level receiver. He was very dominant in college the year before, but I think he actually polished up a lot this year, and I really do appreciate that about T-Mac. At number 6, we have Abdul Carter. I do also want to say, at least you get someone who can catch the ball. That's a start. But I do think there is a little bit of a lack of speed there with the Panthers in their receiving core. I mean, technically Liggett has that speed, but I want someone who's a reliable deep threat, and T-Mac, not necessarily that. Abdul Carter goes at number 6. I mean, it's pretty hard to get mad if you end up getting Abdul Carter. This dude's an absolute beast. Ended up shredding SMU today. The whole entire team ended up shredding SMU, so it breaks my heart. But great player nonetheless, high value position. Sometimes you just got to take the best player available. At 7, Mason Graham goes to the Browns. Honestly, I'm not going to disagree. It's not a position I think is super duper key for him, but if you can get yourself clearly the best defensive interior in the draft, maybe outside of Omar Norman-Lott, we'll see how he performs today. But like, this guy is an absolute beast, and you can pair him up with Michael Hall and have a really nice 1-2 punch there. At pick number 8, you got Will Campbell to the Jets. I don't think Will Campbell's a true tackle. I think he's a guard, and so I'll have my opinion based on that. But Drafting a tackle for the Jets is far from outside of the realm of possibility. They do need that right tackle spot filled. At number 9, Malachi Starks goes to the Chicago Bears. It's a pick I've made before once, but I do think there are better impact picks. Defensive back is certainly something you can go for the Bears, but I do think in this deep defensive back class, you don't necessarily need to prioritize it for a team like the Bears that have other positions and players that would be a bigger bang for your buck. At pick 10, we got Michael Williams going to the Saints. I know that Josh Edwards, the author of this, loves Michael Williams, especially to the Saints. So, looking through that lens, I could see it being logical. I would just put a different edge rusher for him at that point. But I also think the tight ends, Tyler Warren or Colson Loveland, could be really good targets as well. Kelvin Banks goes at pick number 11. I don't think the Dolphins value offensive line enough, but if they did, Kelvin Banks would not be a bad idea. You got Ben Morrison going at pick 12. I'm waiting for him to be able to say he's going back to school. I think that would be the smartest thing for him to do. True junior, ended off the year with a hip injury. A lot of corners in this class. I don't really see as many next year. I could see Ben Morrison being a top 5 pick next year. Pick number 13, we got Kenneth Grant to the Bengals. Super raw player. He's very surprising at the fact that he's 340 but can't push the pocket, but he does everything that a 290-pound player does well. He really is like a 290-pound player in a 340-pound body playing as a 290-pound player. So I'm really hoping that he ends up having a little bit more self-awareness of the fact that he could drive people back with good leg strength as well as that size. I'm just hoping that he ends up getting that self-awareness sooner rather than later. At 14, you got Ashton Jeanty to the Cowboys. Just dropped my top 21 running backs in the 2025 NFL Draft. Feel free to check it out. All those guys, we're going to have a deep dive where we're probably getting up to 40 of them, but I wanted to be able to get a preliminary view at the running back class, and it shows you guys exactly what I think of each running back, and also it ends up breaking down an exact game from my notes of all 22 scouting. So you guys get 50 minutes of awesomeness there. Ashton Jeanty, of course, is at the top, but you also see who is right there with him. At 15, you got Nick Scorton to the Niners. The Niners need some extra edge defense. This is actually a really solid pick. I'm not going to disagree with it. James Pierce goes at pick 16 to the Falcons. They needed to hit on this last year. I don't know why they didn't really do it. They tried with Braylon Trice, which, again, y'all know how much I love Braylon Trice. The dude shed 30 pounds, and it's like, what the hell? Who are you? But James Pierce is the best player in the class outside of Will Johnson, in my opinion. I think this dude's a stud. There's a lot of them like him, like the Jalen Walkers, Jahad Campbell, Abdul Carters of the world, but it's a good edge class, and the Falcons take advantage. Same thing, here with the Cardinals. If they don't bring back Baron Browning, this makes a lot of sense. But you can also use Jalen Walker as a linebacker. His grade as a linebacker and an edge rusher was both above 77, which is incredible. Jahad Campbell is like a 72 as a linebacker, and I think like a 78 or 78.5 as an edge rusher. So, also, spoiler alert there. But I think Jalen Walker is very well balanced and could be even worth a first-round pick as a true linebacker. Tyler Booker goes at pick 18 to the Seahawks. Get offensive line, no matter who it is. I think that's a smart move. Tyler Booker's a great player. We'll see if he comes out. Colson Loveland goes at pick 19 to the Chargers. It's a cute pick because you get the same guy to go back. Harbaugh, tight end, goes back to Harbaugh. Makes sense. Luther Burden goes at 20 to the Buccaneers. I personally think this is relatively reasonable. The wide receiver core is a lot more in shambles than I think one would like to believe. And Mike Evans is gone after next year. You do need some firepower there, and Luther Burden could bring that to you. Josh Simmons goes at pick 21 to the Rams. Excellent selection. The only reason he's being selected there is because of the season-ending injury. Cam Williams goes at pick 22. I didn't see the update on his leg injury. I don't know if this guy pulls a Patrick Mahomes every single time he gets hurt, because the first time I was like, oh man, this guy's gone. And then he ended up coming back that game. So I'm not sure if I remember seeing him later in the game, but Cam Williams also seems to be relatively mid-game injury prone based on the fact that I've seen a couple of games where he's gone down. He's like legitimately hurt. And then, maybe he's just a fighter, man. Maybe he just comes back and he's willing to push through it. But regardless, Cam Williams needs a lot of development. So I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be the best move there for your athletic quarterback, to have somebody continuously letting in pressures while they're still developing. Tyler Warren goes at 23, dream pick there for the Broncos. Sean Payton getting a 260-pound tight end. just kind of is a match made in heaven. At 24, you got JT Tuimoloau going to the Baltimore Ravens. They need true consistent edge help, and JT Tuimoloau is a great pick for them. Honestly, for a CBS mock draft, this is why I love seeing that Josh Edwards writes these. It's not some dude who comes off the street, there's some like dust on his clothes. He still is like, doesn't look professional. The guy's just like, well, I'm here to write some sports for CBS. So like, no, this guy's like genuinely dedicated to making mock drafts. So I do appreciate that for Josh, because they've had some ass mock drafts before. And, I don't agree with everything, of course, which I won't agree with anybody's mock draft 100%. And you won't agree with mine. But I think that it's nice to see at least there's some consistency here of opinion where we actually do get to see him, similar to what I'm doing, kind of like mold the mock draft the way that you kind of like it after pretty much going through a billion different versions of it. Donovan Jackson goes at pick 25 to the Houston Texans. They need interior offensive line help. This is a great move. Emeka Egbuka goes to the Steelers at 26. I ended up regrading him in Hot Take. I have a higher grade on him than I do Tetairoa McMillan, but completely different player. I do think that he's going to be a slot. I've made my position pretty clear about that, based on, I think Brian Hartline knows what he's doing far more than what we as the general public do, and the Steelers don't need a slot. But if we do take this pick, I'm not going to complain. He's a really, really good wide receiver. Glad to see that when he's healthy, he really is a lot better than what he was the year before, where he was a shell of himself. Walter Nolan goes at pick 27. The Packers just, they need a 3-tech. Walter Nolan seems to have the hype. Not fully sold on him, but I made a defensive interior video where I broke down the top, I think, 16, 17 defensive interiors, and Walter Nolan was on that list. Jonah Savania goes at pick 28 to be the interior offensive lineman there. I assume they're going to be kicking him to the interior of the offensive line. There we go. And I think that's a great move. He was really solid as a guard. Has played both tackle spots and the guard spot, and I think he's best on the interior. If you can't trade back, being able to get him, honestly, Amari Hampton would be better. Tylee Williams might be better, but Jonah Savania, not going to complain about boosting the O-line. At 29, speaking of, Tyleek goes to the Buffalo Bills. Excellent move. He's my number 3 defensive interior in this class, and he's a really, really good player. Ariante Ursary goes to the Eagles at pick 30. If you have the opportunity to take Ursary at pick 30, you do it in a heartbeat. This guy needs to play he could play left tackle early on, but he also could end up going into that guard role short term where Becton is, and he's gone this year. So you could have Ursary play that role until he's ready to take over for Lane Johnson. LT Overton goes to the Lions, another player I think should be returning to school, but excellent value if he is there. And Deone Walker goes at pick 32. He's a little too freaky to kind of let slip if you really don't believe, or you believe in the potential, which technically you could also look at the context here. CBS really does. I don't. He is the, I think, 14th or 15th defensive interior for me. I have not seen him progress at all, but if you really think Chris Jones can get the most out of Deone Walker, you might have one of the best mismatched defensive interior groups in the NFL. So sometimes might be worth it. That's going to be the video. Thanks so much for watching. I love you. See you on the far side. Peace.